We all dream of a long, vibrant life. Yet for so many, aging feels like a slow retreat, a loss of strength and independence. We're told it's our genes, our cholesterol, but what if the most powerful predictor of how well you age isn't any of those things? Hello, I'm Dr. Emma Collins, a biomedical scientist specializing in aging. Groundbreaking research is now confirming a truth that has been hiding in plain sight. The silent, devastating driver of aging is the gradual loss of skeletal muscle. And here's the kicker. New science shows this decline is not inevitable. In fact, it's reversible, often with one single, powerful food that many have been told to avoid for decades. So if you are over 60 and you feel that loss of strength, or that growing fear of losing your independence, stay with me. If you've ever felt that frustrating sense that your body just isn't what it used to be, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And be sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because the next few minutes might just change how you live the rest of your life. All right, let's begin by exploring the question that almost every older adult wonders at some point. Why does it suddenly become so difficult to maintain strength, tone, and energy, even if you are eating well and staying active? Why do you feel like you have to work twice as hard just to stay in the same place? The answer isn't just about getting older. The answer lies deep within your muscle fibers, inside your mitochondria. These are the tiny organelles that act like cellular power plants. To understand the problem, we first need to understand the profound role your muscles play in your overall health. We tend to think of muscle as something purely mechanical. It's the tissue that helps you lift groceries, climb stairs, or play with your grandchildren. And of course, it does all of that. But that's only a tiny fraction of the story. In reality, your skeletal muscle is one of the most dynamic and influential organs in your entire body. It is, in essence, an endocrine organ. Think about that for a moment. An endocrine organ. Just like your thyroid or your pancreas, your muscles produce and release powerful biochemical messengers into your bloodstream. Every single time you contract your muscles, whether it's from lifting a weight or simply standing up from a chair, they release these signaling molecules called myokines. You can think of myokines as text messages sent from your muscles to the rest of your body. These messages travel everywhere. They communicate with your brain. They talk to your liver. They even send instructions to your immune system. These are not just random signals. They are sophisticated commands that orchestrate your body's health. For example, some myokines are powerfully anti-inflammatory, actively calming down the chronic, low-grade inflammation that drives so many age-related diseases. Other myokines travel to your liver and tell it to become more efficient at burning fat for energy. Some even cross the blood-brain barrier and stimulate the growth of new brain cells, a process called neurogenesis, which is critical for maintaining cognitive function and memory as you age. These molecules also help regulate critical longevity pathways, things you might have heard of like mTOR and AMPK. These are two molecular switches inside your cells that essentially decide whether your body is in a state of building and repair or a state of breakdown and decay. When your muscles are active and healthy, they are constantly sending out signals that promote renewal and resilience. So, when muscle mass begins to decline, a process that accelerates after the age of 60, it is not just a physical loss. It is not just about feeling a bit weaker. It is a systemic signal of accelerated aging. The communication network breaks down. The rejuvenating messages stop being sent. Your mitochondria, those cellular power plants, become less efficient. That background hum of inflammation gets louder. And your body's nutrient-sensing pathways begin to shift away from anabolism, which is the state of building up tissues, and toward catabolism, the state of breaking them down. It's a vicious cycle. Less muscle means fewer positive signals, which leads to a body environment that makes it even harder to build and maintain the muscle you have left. But here's the most important part of this entire discussion. The piece of information that should give you tremendous hope. This process is reversible. Studies from leading institutions all over the world, places like Harvard University, the University of Copenhagen, and the National Institute on Aging, have all shown that with the proper nutritional strategy, Particularly with targeted amino acids and specific whole foods, older adults can stimulate muscle protein synthesis at levels that are remarkably similar to those seen in much younger individuals. It's not a lost cause. Far from it. Your cells have not forgotten how to build and repair. They just need to be reminded. They need the right signals. And this brings us to the very heart of our conversation today. A single powerful food that can help you send those signals. A food that acts like a biochemical switch, turning on those dormant muscle-building pathways at the cellular level, while at the same time improving the efficiency of your mitochondria and helping to reduce that harmful inflammation. This food is accessible. It's affordable. It is supported by decades of solid scientific research. And yet, for years, it has been overlooked and, in many cases, unfairly demonized. To truly understand why this food is so powerful, we need to dive a little deeper into what is actually happening inside your aging muscle. We need to understand the why at the cellular level, because that makes the how far more effective. All right, so let's get into the first major section, understanding the 3 core causes of this age-related muscle decline. Number 1 is mitochondrial decline. When you are young, your mitochondria are abundant, efficient, and incredibly resilient. They take the nutrients from the food you eat and convert them into energy in the form of a molecule called ATP with remarkable precision. This energy powers everything, but it is especially critical for muscle contraction, repair, and growth. Building and maintaining muscle is an energy-intensive process, but as you enter your 60 seconds, something fundamental begins to shift. Here is what the research clearly shows. By the time you reach age 60, the number of mitochondria in your skeletal muscles can decrease, and more importantly, the efficiency of the ones that remain starts to decline significantly. Studies from the University of Copenhagen and the National Institute on Aging have demonstrated that older adults may experience up to a 30 to 40% reduction in mitochondrial function compared to young adults. Let that number sink in. 30 to 40% less energy-producing capacity inside the very cells that are responsible for your strength and movement. Your muscle cells are literally trying to run on a low battery. And when your mitochondria start to underperform, 2 critical things happen. First, your ability to repair existing muscle fibers and grow new ones slows down dramatically. The construction crew simply doesn't have enough power to do its job. This is why you might notice that it takes you longer to recover from physical activity than it used to. Second, oxidative stress begins to increase. You can think of oxidative stress as a kind of cellular exhaust or smoke. Healthy mitochondria produce a lot of energy and very little smoke, but inefficient, aging mitochondria produce less energy and a whole lot more of this damaging smoke. This oxidative stress damages proteins, lipids, and even your DNA, further impairing cellular communication and accelerating the aging process. Now for the second core cause, anabolic resistance. This is a crucial concept to understand. This loss of mitochondrial efficiency also disrupts your body's ability to respond to what we call anabolic signals. Anabolic is just a scientific term for building up. So, anabolic signals are the cues that tell your muscle cells to build new tissue after a workout or a protein-rich meal. The hormone insulin, for example, is a powerful anabolic signal. One of its jobs is to drive amino acids, the building blocks of protein, into your muscle cells so they can be used for repair and growth. However, with age, your muscles can become insulin resistant, meaning the signal from insulin is weaker. It's like it's knocking on the door, but the muscle cell can't hear it as clearly. Even more importantly, key signaling pathways inside the cell, like the mTOR pathway we mentioned earlier, become less responsive. mTOR acts as a master molecular switch for growth. When it's turned on, muscle building happens. When it's off, it doesn't. In older adults, it takes a much stronger signal to flip that switch into the on position. This entire phenomenon is known as anabolic resistance. To put it in plain terms, your muscle cells stop listening to the message to grow. Imagine your muscle cells are like a radio receiver. In your 20 seconds or 30 seconds, the signal from protein intake or exercise comes in strong and clear, and the message is simple: build new tissue. But after 60, it's like static starts to build up on the line. The signal from the transmitter, your nutrition and hormones, is still there, but the receiver, your muscle tissue, has lost its sensitivity. It can barely hear the message through all the noise. And a big part of that noise brings us to our third core cause. Number 3, chronic low-grade inflammation. Scientists have a term for this now. They call it inflammaging. It describes a low, constant, smoldering fire of inflammation that can become more common as we age. This isn't the acute inflammation you get when you sprain your ankle, which is a healthy and necessary part of healing. This is a persistent, systemic inflammation. Over time, certain immune cells and aging tissues begin to release small amounts of inflammatory molecules called cytokines, with names like interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha. These molecules circulate throughout your body and essentially create more of that static we just talked about. They directly interfere with the mTOR signaling pathway, making it even harder to turn on muscle protein synthesis. They also directly impair the performance of your mitochondria, creating that vicious cycle of less energy and more oxidative stress. The result of these three factors combined, failing mitochondria, anabolic resistance, and inflammaging, is a slow but steady metabolic shift. Your body moves away from anabolism, the building up of tissue, and toward catabolism, the breaking down of tissue. But, as I said before, it is not all bad news, not by a long shot. What scientists have discovered, and this is truly empowering, is that these changes are not permanent. They are not a one-way street. Your mitochondria are remarkably adaptable. They can grow, they can multiply, and they can regain their efficiency through targeted interventions. We can literally retrain our cells to behave as if they were younger. Let me give you a concrete example. In a landmark 2019 study published in the prestigious journal Cell Metabolism, researchers took a group of older adults and put them on a 12-week resistance training program. After just 3 months, they found significant increases in both the density and the function of the mitochondria in their muscles. In fact, their muscle profiles began to resemble those of participants who were 20 to 30 years younger. Exercise, in this case, acted like a cellular reboot button. But here is the crucial piece of the puzzle. To maximize those incredible benefits from exercise, to truly lock them in, your body needs the right nutritional inputs. It desperately needs the raw materials to complete the job. Specifically, it needs key amino acids that can directly activate that stubborn mTOR pathway and provide the fuel for muscle protein synthesis. So, when we talk about reversing muscle loss after 60, what we are really talking about is reprogramming our cells. We are restoring the lines of communication between our nutrients, our hormones, and our mitochondria. And that entire process starts with knowing which specific foods deliver the precise signals that our aging bodies are missing. This leads us directly to our next major section, revealing the solution, the powerhouse food that has been overlooked for far too long. If you've been following the science so far, you now understand that muscle loss after 60 is not simply about getting older. It is about a communication breakdown. It's about losing the conversation between your nutrition, your hormones, and your mitochondria. But here is the remarkable truth. You can reignite that communication. You can restore that conversation with the right food. That food is eggs. Yes, the humble egg. A complete, compact, nutrient-dense powerhouse that may be one of the single most effective, accessible, and affordable tools for reversing muscle loss in older adults. Now, let me explain exactly why, based on the science we've just discussed. Each egg contains a perfectly balanced ratio of essential amino acids, those building blocks of protein. This includes one amino acid that becomes absolutely crucial as we age. Its name is leucine. Leucine is the key. It is the primary amino acid that directly activates the mTOR pathway, the master switch for muscle protein synthesis. Think of leucine as the ignition key that starts the muscle-building engine. Without enough leucine in a meal, the signal to grow is simply too weak to overcome the anabolic resistance we talked about, especially in older muscle tissue. Here is what the research shows. According to multiple studies published in respected journals like the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition and Frontiers in Physiology, Older adults require a higher dose of leucine in a single meal to fully stimulate muscle protein synthesis compared to younger people. The scientific consensus suggests a threshold of approximately 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine in one sitting. A typical serving of, say, 3 large eggs provides just about that exact amount, depending on their size and how you prepare them. It hits the necessary target to turn that key and start the engine. But that is only part of the story. The protein and leucine content is critical, but what makes eggs truly special is the unique synergy of other nutrients they contain, which makes them so much more than just a source of protein. They provide a significant amount of choline, a nutrient that is vital for brain health but also for muscle function. Choline is a precursor to acetylcholine, which is the neurotransmitter that your nerves use to send the signal to your muscles to contract. Better choline levels mean a stronger, clearer signal for muscle contraction. The yolk also contains riboflavin and vitamin B12, two B vitamins that are essential for your mitochondria to produce energy efficiently. They contain selenium, a powerful antioxidant mineral that helps protect your cells from oxidative stress. And they contain healthy fats, including omega-3 fatty acids, especially if you choose eggs from pasture-raised hens. These fats are known to help lower that chronic, low-grade inflammation, the inflammaging that we know suppresses muscle growth. In other words, eggs do not just feed your muscles with building blocks. They help rebuild the entire cellular machinery needed to use those building blocks effectively. They are providing the fuel, the ignition key, and a maintenance crew all in one package. Now, I know what many of you might be thinking. For years, for decades even, we were told to avoid eggs, or at least the yolks, because of concerns about dietary cholesterol and heart disease. This is perhaps one of the most significant reversals in nutritional science over the past 20 years. The data has completely shifted. Large-scale meta-analyses, some involving over 500,000 participants, have been conducted, and they have found no consistent link between moderate egg consumption, around 1 to 3 eggs per day, and cardiovascular risk in healthy individuals. The old hypothesis that the cholesterol you eat directly translates to cholesterol in your blood has been largely disproven for most people. In fact, some research even shows that the dietary cholesterol from eggs may actually improve the function of your HDL, the so-called good cholesterol, which is responsible for transporting cholesterol out of your arteries and supporting cellular repair. And here's why this is so important for muscle health in particular. Cholesterol is not the enemy. It is a vital raw material. It is the precursor molecule that your body uses to produce essential hormones, including steroid hormones like testosterone, estrogen, and even cortisol, all of which play absolutely essential roles in maintaining muscle tissue, regulating metabolism, and managing recovery. When older adults restrict cholesterol too much, they may inadvertently be starving their body of the very building blocks it needs to maintain a healthy hormonal environment. So, when you include whole eggs in your diet, not just the whites, you are feeding your hormonal and cellular machinery on multiple interconnected levels. Let's look at a fascinating study that perfectly illustrates this point. It was published in the Journal of Nutrition. Researchers had participants engage in resistance exercise. Afterward, one group was given a meal with protein derived from egg whites alone. The other group was given an equivalent amount of protein, but from whole eggs. The results were stunning. The group that consumed the whole eggs showed a 40% greater muscle protein synthesis response compared to the egg white group. 40%, the amount of protein was the same. The difference was the presence of the yolk. The micronutrients in the yolk, the vitamins, the minerals, the fats, the choline worked in synergy with the amino acids from the protein. They enhanced the bioavailability and the signaling power of those amino acids. It's a perfect example of food synergy. Nature designed the egg as a complete anabolic package, and when we separate its parts, we lose a significant portion of its power. And there's one more fascinating detail. The yolks also contain two powerful antioxidants called lutein and zeaxanthin. These are carotenoids that are famous for protecting eye health, but they also accumulate in other tissues, and they have a special affinity for mitochondrial membranes. They help protect your cellular powerhouses from that oxidative damage we talked about, the cellular smoke that contributes to muscle fatigue and aging. So, this one simple, affordable food is working on multiple fronts at once. It activates the mTOR pathway with its high leucine content. It provides the full spectrum of essential amino acids for building new tissue. It supplies the raw materials for maintaining a healthy hormonal balance. And it delivers key micronutrients and antioxidants to protect and support your mitochondria. Let me break that down in plain English. When you eat whole eggs, you are sending a powerful, multi-layered biochemical message to your body. That message says, build, repair, and protect. That is precisely why this food stands out in the science of longevity and nutrition. It delivers not just the macronutrients, but also the precise micronutrients that signal for resilience at the deepest cellular level. So now that we understand why whole eggs are such a potent tool for reversing muscle loss, the next logical question is a practical one. How do we use them most effectively? This brings us to our next important section, practical guidance on timing and pairing. Because as powerful as any nutrient can be, its effectiveness is dramatically influenced by timing and context. It's these details that transform nutrition from just being food into being a powerful biological signal. This is one of the most overlooked aspects of muscle and longevity science. When and how you deliver those amino acids determines whether your body simply uses them for energy or whether it uses them for repair and growth. Let's start with the when. Timing. When we eat a protein-rich meal, the amino acids are absorbed and travel through our bloodstream. This triggers the release of hormones and growth signals that, as we now know, activate mTOR, the key molecular pathway for muscle protein synthesis. But here is the catch. As we've established, older adults suffer from anabolic resistance. They need a stronger, clearer signal than younger individuals to get the same muscle-building response. This means that protein timing becomes much more important as we age. We can't be as haphazard about it. The research on this is incredibly clear. Consuming a leucine-rich meal, such as one with whole eggs, within a 1 to 2 hour window after resistance exercise dramatically amplifies muscle repair and growth. This period is often called the anabolic window. A study from the University of Illinois perfectly highlights this. They had a group of older adults perform resistance training. One group consumed a protein-rich meal immediately after the workout. The other group consumed the same meal but delayed their intake by just 3 hours. The results were remarkable. Over the course of the study, the group that ate immediately after training gained nearly twice as much lean muscle mass as the group that waited. Let me repeat that. Twice the muscle gain, just by changing the timing of the meal. The message from this and many other studies is simple and direct. Your muscle cells are listening most closely right after you have challenged them with exercise. Here's why. Immediately after a workout, several things are happening in your body that create this perfect biological window. Blood flow to the muscle tissue you just worked is significantly elevated. This means more nutrients can be delivered directly where they are needed most. Insulin sensitivity in your muscle cells is temporarily increased, meaning they are much better at pulling in glucose and amino acids from the bloodstream. And the cellular nutrient transporters on the surface of your muscle cells are wide open, ready to receive those building blocks. So, if you perform resistance exercise, and this doesn't have to be heavy weightlifting at the gym, it can be something as gentle as using resistance bands at home, doing bodyweight squats, or lifting light dumbbells. Your goal should be to have your egg-based meal soon afterward. You are essentially delivering the construction materials right to the job site at the exact moment the construction crew is ready to work. Now, let's talk about the what. What you eat with those eggs can dramatically influence how your body uses them, further enhancing the anabolic signal. Let's call this intelligent pairing. Number 1, pair eggs with a source of complex carbohydrates. I'm talking about foods like sweet potatoes, quinoa, or steel-cut oats. Why? Because a moderate intake of healthy carbohydrates enhances the release of insulin. As we discussed, insulin helps to shuttle those precious amino acids, especially leucine, into your muscle cells more efficiently. This does not mean you should eat sugary or refined carbs that will spike your blood sugar. It means using whole food carbohydrates strategically to create a more powerfully anabolic environment for your muscles. A fantastic post-workout meal could be 3 scrambled eggs with a side of oatmeal and berries, or an omelet with a small baked sweet potato. Number 2, add a small amount of healthy fat. For example, half an avocado alongside your eggs, or a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil on your omelet. These healthy fats help to slightly slow down digestion. This might sound counterintuitive, but it's actually a good thing in this context. It helps to sustain the release of amino acids into the bloodstream over several hours, effectively extending the anabolic window and providing a steadier supply of building blocks for repair. Number 3, always include polyphenol-rich vegetables. Things like spinach or kale wilted into your omelet, or bell peppers and onions scrambled with your eggs. These vegetables are packed with antioxidants and polyphenols. These compounds help to reduce the oxidative stress and mild inflammation that naturally occur after exercise. Think of them as the cleanup crew. They come in and help counteract the temporary stress from the workout, allowing the muscle repair and building process to proceed without interference. And number 4, a simple but crucial point: hydrate adequately. Water and electrolytes are essential for muscle protein synthesis and for your mitochondria to function properly. Even mild dehydration can significantly blunt your body's anabolic response to both exercise and nutrition. Now, let's zoom out from a single meal and look at the entire day. There's a quick but incredibly important point to be made about daily protein distribution. Most older adults in America follow a very skewed protein intake pattern. They eat a relatively protein-poor breakfast, like toast or cereal, a moderate lunch, and then a very large portion of their daily protein at dinner. Studies published in the Journal of Gerontology show that this is a highly inefficient way to stimulate muscle growth. Researchers found that distributing protein intake evenly across 3 meals, aiming for approximately 30 to 40 grams per meal, doubles the total daily muscle protein synthesis compared to the skewed intake pattern, even when the total amount of protein for the day is exactly the same. Doubled the response. So, an optimal daily routine might look something like this. For breakfast, you could have your 3 whole eggs with spinach and a side of oatmeal. For a midday meal, you could have a large salad with grilled chicken or a bowl of lentil soup. And for an evening meal, a piece of wild-caught salmon with roasted vegetables. This rhythm of providing a solid dose of high-quality protein at each meal keeps that mTOR signaling pathway gently pulsing throughout the day. It provides your muscles and your mitochondria with continuous support, rather than trying to do all the work in one short burst at night. By tying all this together, the what, the when, and the how, you create a powerful, synergistic strategy. You're not just eating food. You are sending deliberate, timed signals to your body to build, repair, and thrive. This brings us to our final section, where we connect all these dots and look at the bigger picture. Maintaining your muscles is about so much more than just physical strength. It is about preserving the very foundation of your metabolism, your energy production, and your biological youth. When you begin to see your muscles through this new lens, you realize that maintaining them after 60 is about far more than just your appearance or your ability to lift things. It is about preserving the control center of your biological age. Because muscle, as we've established, is not just a structural tissue. It is arguably one of the most metabolically active organs in your entire body. We talked about myokines, those biochemical text messages sent from your muscles. Let's explore that a bit more. One of the most studied myokines is a molecule called irisin, which was discovered in the early 2010 seconds. Irisin is released during exercise and acts almost like a youth-promoting molecule. It has been shown to help convert standard white fat, the kind that stores energy and accumulates around your waistline, into a more metabolically active brown-like fat, which actually burns energy to generate heat. This process increases your overall metabolic rate and significantly improves your body's insulin sensitivity. The research is consistent. Older adults who maintain active, healthy muscle tissue tend to have higher circulating levels of beneficial myokines, like irisin, and lower levels of those inflammatory cytokines, like interleukin-6. So when you nourish your muscles properly with leucine-rich foods like eggs, and you engage in consistent resistance training, you are not only building muscle fibers, You are creating a cascading waterfall of beneficial metabolic signals that improve your entire physiology. Let's look at a few concrete examples of how this plays out system-wide. Number one is metabolic health. Your muscle tissue acts like a giant glucose sponge. It is the primary site in your body for glucose disposal after a meal. Your muscles store glucose in a form called glycogen. As we age and lose muscle mass, we are effectively losing our storage capacity for glucose. There's less sponge to soak it up. This leads to higher blood sugar levels circulating for longer periods after meals, which in turn increases the risk of insulin resistance and, eventually, type 2 diabetes. The link is direct and quantifiable. Researchers from the University of Texas Medical Branch found that for every 10% loss of skeletal muscle mass, there is a corresponding 10% increase in insulin resistance. Maintaining strong, healthy muscle tissue is one of your most powerful protections against metabolic disease. Number two is immune function. Your immune system is incredibly demanding. During periods of stress, illness, or infection, your immune cells require a massive amount of fuel and building blocks to mount an effective response. They rely heavily on amino acids like glutamine and arginine, both of which are stored in large quantities in your skeletal muscle. When your muscle reserves are depleted, your immune responses can become weaker and less effective, making you more vulnerable to illness and slower to recover. A strong, well-nourished muscle system acts as a vital nutrient reservoir that your immune system can draw upon during times of crisis. It's like having a deep well of resources ready for any emergency. Number three is brain health and mood. The muscle-brain connection is one of the most exciting frontiers in aging research. As we've mentioned, exercise and muscle contraction increase the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. You can think of BDNF as being like Miracle-Gro for your brain cells. It is a molecule that is essential for learning, forming new memories, and mood regulation. This is one of the primary reasons why physically active older adults have a significantly lower risk of cognitive decline, dementia, and depression. The relationship is direct. Active muscle tissue sends powerful neuroprotective signals directly to your brain. It helps keep your mind sharp and your mood stable. And number four, this connects to the deepest level of aging, your longevity pathways. When your muscle tissue is metabolically active, it enhances a process called mitochondrial turnover, or mitophagy. This is your body's quality control program for your mitochondria. It's the process of clearing out the old, damaged, inefficient mitochondria and replacing them with new, healthy, fully functional ones. This constant renewal process is what keeps your cells biologically young. Activating your muscles also increases the activity of longevity-related enzymes like sirtuins, which are famous for their role in cellular repair and energy regulation. In other words, when you move your body and properly feed your muscles, you are activating some of the very same powerful anti-aging pathways that are associated with things like calorie restriction and extended lifespan. But you're doing it through movement and nourishment, rather than through deprivation. Let me break that down simply. Every time you challenge your muscles with exercise, or fuel them with nutrient-rich foods like whole eggs, you are sending a full-body message of renewal. You are telling your body, stay young, stay strong, stay efficient. So when you think about your muscle health, I want you to start thinking about your systemic health. Your muscle is the bridge. It's the bridge between your diet and your brain. It's the bridge between your immune system and your longevity. It is not simply a mirror of your fitness. It is the control center of aging itself. We have covered a lot of science, from mitochondria and amino acids to hormones and myokines. Now, let's bring all of this knowledge down to earth. What can you actually do starting today to restore your muscle mass, your energy, and your vitality after 60? Here is a simple step-by-step framework that integrates everything we've discussed, all backed by strong research. Step number one, prioritize your protein distribution. The single biggest mistake most older adults make is eating too little protein, or cramming most of it into their dinner meal. As we age, our body's threshold for stimulating muscle protein synthesis rises. This means you need a slightly higher dose of high-quality protein at each meal to get the same muscle-building effect. Aim for around 30 to 40 grams of protein at each meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, spaced evenly throughout the day. This pattern keeps your muscle-building machinery switched on, rather than only activating it for a few hours at night. Step number 2. Perform resistance training 3 to 4 times per week. Exercise is a powerful mechanical signal that tells your cells we need to build. Research from the Journal of Applied Physiology shows that even low-intensity resistance training, using resistance bands, light weights, or just your own body weight, can stimulate significant muscle growth in older adults, especially when combined with adequate protein. The key is consistency. Focus on compound movements that engage multiple muscle groups, like squats, step-ups, rows, and presses. You do not need to train like an athlete. You just need to train with intent. Step number 3. Support your mitochondrial function with simple lifestyle tools. To truly rebuild strength, you need those cellular power plants running at full capacity. Support them with deep, restorative sleep. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of consistent, high-quality sleep, as this is when growth hormone and muscle repair peak. And consider gentle hormetic stressors. Things like occasional cold exposure, sauna sessions, or even just brisk walks in nature can activate genes that stimulate mitochondrial renewal. Step number 4. Add key micronutrient support. Micronutrients are the quiet drivers of muscle health. Ensure your diet provides enough magnesium, which is crucial for muscle relaxation and energy metabolism. Vitamin D, in calcium balance and protein synthesis. Omega-3 fatty acids, for reducing inflammation and improving muscle recovery. Many older adults also benefit from supplementing with creatine monohydrate, typically 3 to 5 grams daily, which is proven to increase strength and mitochondrial density. Step number 5. Manage inflammation and focus on recovery. Remember that every workout is a form of controlled stress. The real growth and adaptation happen during recovery. Include daily low-intensity movement like walking or stretching to increase circulation and gently reduce inflammation. Stay hydrated, as even mild dehydration can impair muscle protein synthesis. And please, prioritize rest days. Your muscles grow between your training sessions, not during them. And finally, step number 6. Track your strength, not just your weight. Instead of focusing on the number on the scale, track your performance metrics. How many repetitions can you do? How quickly do you recover? How energized do you feel? These are the true indicators of metabolic health and biological youth. A landmark study published in The Lancet found that grip strength alone was a stronger predictor of mortality than blood pressure. Every ounce of strength you build translates directly into a longer, healthier life. So there you have it. You've made it through. What you have just discovered is not simply a list of tips or a new diet. You have just learned how to regain control of the aging process at a cellular level. That is the power of nourishing your body, challenging your muscles, and reawakening the very systems that are designed to build and repair. I am not asking you to change everything all at once. That can be overwhelming. Just do one thing. Choose one simple action to start with. Perhaps it's just adding 2 whole eggs back into your breakfast tomorrow morning. That's it. That is how every great change begins, with one small, intentional step. And so we can build a strong, supportive community together on this journey. If you feel inspired by this message, please comment with the phrase, "Ready for action" below. It lets me know you are with us, and I truly do read every single comment. Please, always remember this. You are not too old to grow stronger. You are not past the point of repair. The same biological systems that built your body in your 20 seconds are still within you. They just need the right signals to turn back on. Your journey to reclaim your vitality has just begun. Subscribe to the channel so we can continue to walk this path together.